Well, hi, guys. My name is Old Mr. Ancient. You guys ever seen an old Mr. Ancient before? Excuse my beard, I'm so old that my beard's just kind of starting to fall down a little bit. What happens when you get real old? Well, tonight, this morning or today, whatever time of the day it is, sometimes when you get old you forget things. Today I have a story for you. And it's a story that happened. The reason that I want to tell you this story is because it's close to my heart. And this happened a long time ago. That's why I have to come back from ancient times sometimes. Because this was many years before you guys were born. This was about 2,000 years ago. And the story that I want to tell you today is called Leon the Leper and the Because Man. I'm just going to say that again because it's kind of might sound to be a little news story. It's called Leon the Leper and the Because Man. So to start off, I'm going to need a volunteer. Can anybody be a volunteer? Oh, I appreciate it. What's your name? Matthew. Oh, that's my old name. I used to have that name too. Back in the day, I've had many names through the years. Anyway, thank you for volunteering. I appreciate that. Now, what I want to tell you about Leon, you're going to be Leon. This guy is Leon. Now, Leon the leper was a very sick man. Can you act a little bit sick? Just kind of, oh. I want to tell you something about leprosy. Back in the day, back in the many moons ago, when they used to get leprosy, it was not a pretty disease. Sometimes parts of their arm wouldn't get feeling anymore. They couldn't feel them, and it would start to decay. So we're going to put a bandage on his arm. And let's put this on his hand. And I want to tell you, there's a couple things about leprosy that are really painful. First of all, there's the physical pain. It really is sad when you can't feel when you have no feeling. And what would happen is the disease would start eating away, and it would eat away at the nerves, and so there's no feeling. And then when he would go and be working out in the field, all of a sudden he'd hack on his finger or something, and his one finger would get hacked off or wounded and hurt. But I want to tell you the most painful thing about this disease. First of all, there's the pain. The pain. It doesn't feel good. But worse than that, worse than any of this kind of pain, was the pain. I'm just going to put this on his head because he had a bandage on around his head too. It's actually over his one eye. He couldn't even see real good. The worst thing about leprosy was that you would lose your friends. No friends. Because you know why? There was a law in these days that if you had leprosy, you had to walk through the towns and you had to cry, unclean, unclean, unclean. Can you cry that for us, Leon? Say, unclean.
Unclean.
Now, if you're walking through town and crying unclean, that means all your friends are not allowed to touch you because leprosy was contagious. If you were one of Leon's friends and you came and gave him a big hug, you might get leprosy too. How many of you want leprosy? Not too many of us, right? So I want to tell you the most painful thing about Leon's disease was that he had no friends. He was all alone, all by himself. Nobody cared about him. All the people that used to be his best friends were gone. And he had to walk through the town alone. And it was a lonely life. It was sad, it was hard, it was painful. That was the deeper pain that Leon was experiencing. Now, I'm going to need another volunteer. Yes, what's your name?
Daniel.
Daniel, perfect. You come up here, Daniel. Daniel was a Pharisee. And I'm going to tell you something about Pharisees. Pharisees were pretty ordinary, just like a lot of the rest of the people. Back in these days, the name Pharisee meant basically the same as like preacher, bishop, deacon. If you know any preachers or men who are teachers in our day, that's who the Pharisees were. They knew the Bible. They knew the Bible like the back of their hand. Well, Daniel, the Pharisee, he walked around with his Bible, and we're just going to put a white cloak over him because he was a man of the cloth. And he was very, 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 very conscientious about what God wanted. And he cared about what God wanted. You just hold that over yourself. And you're a very righteous man. He does everything right. Nothing wrong. In fact, he even had a Bible in his hand that he carried around everywhere he went. And there was a specific verse that was his life verse. And I'm going to read that to you. It's from Leviticus 13:8. And that verse says, "And if the priest see that, behold, the scab spreads in the skin, then the priest shall pronounce him unclean, if it is leprosy." And that was his life verse. So you look at him, and you say, unclean.
Unclean.
Now, there was something very specific about Beiler the Pharisee. He operated, I don't know if you guys can see this, or those of you that can read, who can tell me what that word is? Yes. If, and what's that word?
Then.
Then. So let's say that together. If, then. Well, that was Beiler's philosophy. He said, if you get right with God, then God will bless you. If you change your ways, Leon, tell that to him. Say, if you change your ways,
If you change your ways,
then you will get better.
then you will get better.
He said, if you shape up, and he held up his Bible while he said it. He looked at his Bible and he looked at Leon and he said, if you shape up,
If you shape up,
then you will get better.
then you will get better.
And that was his way of thinking. Beiler the Pharisee was an if-then man. Everything operated on if-then. If you do it right, then things will change. So Beiler kind of looked down his nose at Leon the leper and he said, I don't want to hug him. Even though he was supposed to be a man of love and a man of God. And he walked on his way. Thank you, Beiler, for your help. You take this cloak. And Beiler walked on his way, and he kept right on going, not paying any attention. But now I want to tell you about another man. There was another man in those days, back in that same area, and he was the because man. And he had a different philosophy. The funny thing was, he had the same Bible. He had a different life verse. But he used the exact same Bible. He just picked out different verses than what a lot of other people did. And he was the because, therefore man. And his philosophy was always, because we are loved by God, because I feel love, because I am loved, because God is in me and I'm alive, therefore, there must be something good in this situation. God must be here. Love must be present. And he was a because, therefore kind of man. And one day, while all of the other friends of Leon were making fun of him, Leon was walking out into the grocery store to buy some groceries. I don't want you guys all to point at Leon and laugh at him a little bit. Let's make some fun of him. Now, how would you feel if everybody made fun of you? Not too good in your heart, right? You'd be kind of sad, you'd be kind of lonely. Well, that's exactly how he felt. But I want to tell you something about this other man. This other man, the because man, he saw Leon, and he had a pain in his heart, and he said, wow, that guy must feel alone. That guy must not feel good. Now, what can happen if you touch a leper? Somebody tell me.
You get leprosy?
You could get leprosy. If you touch a leper, then you could get leprosy. But what about the because man? The because man said, because love is in me, therefore when I touch the leper, my love will overpower him. My love will conquer him and envelop him, and his disease will be gone. And did you know that even a physical touch, even a hug from somebody can help them feel better? Well, this man, and his name was Jesus. A lot of people love the because man because of that. Because he didn't let those boundaries stop him. He walked up to Leon one day and he said, Leon. And all his friends backed away. They said, well, what are you doing? Get away from him. He's a leper. You could get leprosy. But the because man, his name was Jesus, he said, Leon, can I help you? How are you feeling? And Leon said, oh, I'm not feeling too good. Go ahead, say it. And the because man looked at him and he said, would you like a friend? And what did Leon say? What do you think Leon said?
Yes.
You want a friend? And the because man walked over to him and he just gave him a big hug. And all his friends gasped and they pulled him and said, what? He's going to get leprosy. Well, the because man walked over and he said, let's take a look at that wound. And he pulled it back a little bit. And he just felt over it. and he spoke some love to the wound. And he said, Leon, I love you. I'm so sorry that nobody wants to be around you. But I care about your heart, and you're my friend. And do you know what happened to Leon the leper that day? Do you think love was more powerful than leprosy, or do you think leprosy was more powerful than love?
Love.
Let's say it all together. Love! And that is exactly what happened. In fact, he got so better that he started jumping up and down. His legs that were just kind of, he was feeling all sickly and sad and dejected inside. All of a sudden, he started doing like this, and he's like, yes, I feel great. You feel great?
Yes.
You got to jump up and down if you feel great. That's it. Look at that. And how many people want to be his friend now? You guys want to be a friend with a man who feels great?
Yeah.
But you know what? It took the because, therefore mentality. And that's the kind of mentality that God wants us to have. When there's somebody that looks a little funny, that looks a little different than us, maybe looks a little strange, maybe with a long beard and a mustache that doesn't work right, and you go up amazing things. And that's a story I want you guys to remember, all right? Thank you. You guys can go back to your seats.